Ciao tutti, it is Romina Di Gasbarro and I am coming to you from the ominous woods somewhere deep in the city. Today is Halloween 2020 and did we really actually need a Halloween this year? I mean, kind of, hasn't it been Halloween all year, really? But we are having Halloween and I am super excited that CBC Radio 1 Big City Small World with Errol Nazareth will be playing my song Taranta today to celebrate this extra spooky All Hallows Eve. And I wanted to take this opportunity to tell you a little bit about my song, which they'll be playing, which is Taranta. Taranta is a song, essentially, it is a tarantella, which has its fame maybe in Hollywood movies from the last century, but the tarantella really has a much more interesting past, and that is rooted in something called Tarantismo. And Tarantismo is centuries old. Leonardo da Vinci wrote about it, treatises from the 1400s wrote about it, and especially last century where anthropologists and ethnomusicologists wrote a lot about this. And what it is essentially is the affliction that comes from the bite of a spider or a tarantula, or perhaps a snake, but could also come from the gaze of a tarantula or spider or snake, but could also come from dreaming of the tarantula, spider, or snake. And so from this ominous look or bite, the victim falls into a sort of trance, an affliction that lasts for days or weeks or years. It is usually women, which is another conversation altogether. Maybe I'll do another video. But it is usually women who fell victim of this spider bite. And what would happen was the spider, in the moment of its bite, would freeze the psyche of the victim and dominate her, sometimes him, but mostly her, with its own personality, its own wants, its own likes, its own needs. And it would force then the victim to live her persona through the spiders. Now there was one main cure for this state of tarantismo, and that was usually dance. The dance is of the tarantella, and what would happen was the dancer, the victim, would contort her body into the shape of the spider and do these long drawn-out dances where essentially what they were trying to do is exorcise her of this venom. So the musicians that were hired to do this were usually the townspeople, and they were hired to be the doctors, and they would have to know what music to play, how fast, the tempo, what key, whether they'd be singing, what instrumentation, what exactly would please the spider so much that it would allow the dancer, the victim, to keep dancing in order to exorcise herself from the spider. And essentially the victim would meet the spider in the dance and in the sound of the drum, which is very hypnotic and very therapeutic. So the only way for this victim to be finally, truly liberated from this domineering and dominating spider is through the grace of St. Paul. And St. Paul is known as the Tarantate are known as the brides of St. Paul. And St. Paul, by doing his grace, would release the victims from the spider, essentially crushing or killing the spider, the venom, the persona within the victim. And from there, she'd be liberated and go to the church of St. Paul in Galatina, in Puglia, where this affliction mainly took place in the south of Italy, in the heel of Italy, Puglia. And from there, they would relive the dance in the church, outside the church of St. Paul. So my song is a little different in that usually the woman is a victim of the spider bite, but in my song, the woman goes out into the field looking for a way perhaps out of the demands of life and the restrictions of life, and goes into the field and says, "Come on, spider, Taranta, come and get me." I'm ready for you. Come and bite me. Because through doing that, I get to press pause on my life. I get to dance. I get to be with the music. I get to be in another state. And in a state that was also understood by the townspeople, appreciated and supported. So in one way, this character in Taranta does this, but in another way, she is also looking for a relationship with St. Paul and with the saintly, and looking for a release from the darkness, and looking for a true state of grace and something that is going to bring a greater peace and ultimately the greatest light. So this is my song, Taranta, Come and Get Me, Spider. I'm ready. And I hope you will enjoy it today at 5 o'clock on CBC Radio 1 with Errol Nazareth on Big City, Small World. Thank you so much, CBC. I'm so looking forward to this. And happy Halloween, everyone. Have a wonderful and safe one, and enjoy the sweets. Ciao.